What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys the latest behind-the-bar reviews for One Piece! One Piece Chapter 974, greatest ongoing manga of 2020. Let's get underway, because we are where everybody wants to be. Even people like myself, who really enjoyed the flashback. Yeah, there were lull chapters, but there was also lull chapters in some of the best arcs of One Piece. It happens. Sorry. I don't know what else to say. There are lull chapters, and some people will disagree on which ones are that they feel are lull chapters, and that kind of idea. But for the most part, the flashback is over. I really enjoyed it. I'm not like a lot of the other people. The majority seems to think the flashback was too long, wasn't interesting enough, all that stuff. I did not feel that, but happy to say that we are no longer in the flashback, because I still do love the Straw Hats. I still want to follow the present storyline. All this stuff is interesting, yes, but I'm very glad to be back in the present, because this chapter, okay, where do we start off? Where do we go from here? I mean, this chapter was basically an ode to the fans. It was an ode from Oda. He basically decided to say, alright, I'll explain later. Let's just show it. Let's just give the One Piece community what they want. And he delivers. So, going through this, scene by scene, we have, of course, we needed an explanation for the whole Komurosaki, slice down sort of idea. And we see Denjiro there, basically saying, put on a blood packet on you at all times. I feel like something is coming. That seems to be relative to the few weeks or months leading up to the present storyline, and in case thereof, we need to make a kind of scene sort of idea. And after that scene, we get Orochi and Kaido speaking all about this letter that they received. The moment, it seems to be a few months ago, back at the time when the samurai first reappeared. Tanjiro, Kinemon, Kiku, Raizo, and Momonosuke, how they came 20 years into the future, and now they are finally here. Seem to receive this letter, and he believes in his spy. Now, I'll admit, I was on the bandwagon with a lot of people thinking maybe it was Toki. And of course, that theory lived for about 1 week. One chapter's worth, that theory lived that it was Toki, and then it was completely squashed by, the last chapter, 973. But I was more so of the opinion that there was no traitor. I couldn't really see a traitor in any of them. And if it was, I didn't want to think about it, because I thought that if there really was a traitor, it is most likely Kinemon. And that really kind of, I was like, no, I'm not willing to accept that, right? Because if there truly was a traitor, it would have to be someone that we've been following, that we hold dear. We've been following Kinemon the longest of all of the people of the 9 Red Scabbards. So I held to that. And I said, nope, you know what? My idea was there was no traitor. Kaido and Orochi and all them, they're fabricating, they're lying. Or, that kind of idea, and they're getting their information some other place. Or it's something similar to Mr. Bon Clay's fruit, and Higurashi actually managed to impersonate one of them once upon a time. But now that doesn't seem to be the case, because Kaido also brings up an interesting point. He brings up a fact of, he says, well, it might just be because you're scared. How can you know that they're back? But he does have a question that he's been aching to tell the Kozuki clan. A question he's been burning to ask them for the last 20 years. Probably something to do with Odin. Most likely something to do with Odin, something to do with his swords, something to do with, I don't know, what did Odin tell you? Did he pass on any secret? There's something that Kaido, of all people, wants to know, and he believes that the Kozuki clan knows this. Whatever it is, whatever question it is, I'm curious. But outside of that, it's simply that Orochi trusts the spy. The spy is confirmed in this chapter. We actually find out who it is. And Orochi states, one of the Kurozumi clan, one of the, one of the offshoots of the family, of course, like you have uncles and aunts and people like that. You have your cousins, and the cousins have families, that type of deal, but they're all part of the same family, first generation, second generation, a strain, that kind of idea, but it's still all part of the same line. You can trace it all the way. So apparently there was at one time a person who was part of this Kurozumi clan, a family of entertainers. And these entertainers, of course, they went on stage, kabuki style, and they performed for people of Wano. All of a sudden, one day, Daimyo Killer! Slash, slash, stab, stab, slash, slash, burn it to the ground. And that was the end of the spy's family, of the spy's parents. Somehow, this spy survived the persecution, but people in the crowd found out who they were, and based on prejudice alone, now, once again, some people will say, well, this is olden day. This is a little harsh, and this is what Odin wanted to change. Remember, he hesitated when Orochi revealed all this to Odin. Odin also went, the ways of Wano aren't for the people of today. The ways of Wano have become almost antiquated in certain respects, and they've gotten too old. And it is time to change all that. And you can agree with that to an extent. For one thing, there is no reason to, if a member of a family commits mass murder, that is no reason to go and butcher their cousin, or their uncle. That makes no sense. But hear me out for a second. We would like to think that we are above this type of barbarism in first world countries. I'm not going to talk about, every country and every type of peoples. But, and yes, peoples is actually a word when you're talking about multiple different ethnicities, races, blah, blah, blah. I know it sounds funky, but it's actually the correct word, saying peoples. Believe it or not. At least from my limited knowledge from the Oxford English Dictionary and stuff. Anyways, we like to think we're above this. However, were we to discover the grandchildren of Hitler, or the children of Hitler, maybe not in today's age, it's been over 70 years. But you think, in the 60s, 70s, and I'll even say it today, I can see it happening. I can see it. You have to remember that we might think that this is an antiquated, barbaristic act, but it's not something that would be totally unfounded in this day and age. We're the children of our latest daimyo killer to appear. And the difference is that our daimyo killer is someone who didn't just kill daimyos. They committed genocide. They created a world war. They did a number of atrocities to the entire world at a global level. And I can't say with confidence that there wouldn't be radicals in a fan and people that would shrug their shoulders at the idea that the children of Hitler, were they to exist, had been slaughtered in the streets just for being the children of Hitler. Some people, of course, but I think the majority of people would not necessarily condone it, but they'd shrug their shoulders at it as though it was no big deal. So, and that's what I feel is that in this case, at the time of this person's persecution and the murder of their parents, we had a couple of radicals who believed that they were, or vigilantes, whatever word you want to use, some, far right, far left people that decided that the Kurozumi needed to be wiped off the face of the earth. And the majority of people, they weren't actively out going to kill anybody, but they weren't exactly going to help. They were like, oh yeah, well, they were part of the Kurozumi clan, so I kind of get the point. That shrug shoulder. The majority of people ignored the issue, shrugged their shoulders, and kind of went, not my problem. And today's society would likely do the same thing. Sad to say. So, I find this interesting. Maybe I'm delving too deep into it. Maybe I'm making too many current world connection problems within One Piece here. But, yeah, and this is what Oden didn't like. This is what Oden wanted to change. Because that wasn't right. And look, had Orochi been treated, and he was, of course, Orochi was treated very fairly. Orochi was a piece of shit from the day he was born. And he's got no. But had people been honest with him, had Oden been able to change how Wano was 20 years before, before Kaido, before Orochi, had Oden been able to change the mentality of the people back then, I don't know if Orochi would have went as far as he did. Not that he's not a piece of shit, but would he have been as desperate to burn Wano to the ground? Had Oden been able to change everything? Maybe. Maybe not. Once again, Orochi's a piece of shit, so hard to say. He's got no empathy or sympathy from this guy, but it's very interesting. But then again, that's another little flashback within the present storyline flashback. We're finally catching up, and boom, we're in the present storyline. Finally. And now the moment of truth. We're back in the present storyline. Officially, finally, none of this a few months ago, a few days ago, memory lane and all that stuff in the first half of the chapter. No, we're back at the shore with the samurai who have gotten into a rowboat, half of them anyways, and they have decided that, yeah, don't worry, Lord Momonosuke, with this fewer number, we'll still manage, we'll sneak in, and then we'll behead Kaido. Yeah, sure, it's the same plan that Oden sort of had. Meant to go to Onigashima and slice his drunken head off, and Kinemon clearly remembers Lord Oden's words and how far that got them. So, I mean, I don't think they're under any delusion. They're just trying to cheer up Lord Momonosuke, of course. Now, here's where we actually get the spy. The spy is revealed, and in all honesty, we all knew it was limited on who it could be. It had to be somebody with a Griever card at Zou. That was undisputed. That had to be the case. It was the only way Jack found Zou. Now, let's think about this for a second. Kinemon brings greatest amount of shock value. However, I just didn't see it. I did see it. I didn't want to see it, but I don't know where Oda would have gotten that. Everything we have seen does not point to Kinemon. To be fair, the revelation of who the spy is that background could have almost been applied to almost all of the Red Scabbards. So it's entirely possible it could have been Kinemon. However, it was not. And, yeah, okay. I never really, as I said, obviously the theory, there is no traitor or it's Kinemon, but it's got to be somebody on Zou if there's a traitor. The two that point out to me was Raizo and Kanjuro, because we just didn't know enough about them. I knew enough about Kinemon to believe that what we saw was what we got. And Inarashi and Nekomamushi have been on Zou the last 20 years. They were not two of the pair that were sent into the future, so I felt like it had to be the future ones. It couldn't be Ashura Doji, Denjiro, Kawamatsu. It had to be one of the samurai that were sent. But they also had to be on Zou. For a long time, I tossed up Raizo, and if you had asked me last week, I probably would have said Raizo. In all honesty, because I always forget about Kanjuro. Like, I've been rereading One Piece, and I'm into Whole Cake right now, But I read through the Dressrosa arc and all that stuff and found out about Kanjiro again, and I kind of went, oh yeah, that guy exists. I always forget about him. Raizo's easy. The ninja. The one ninja of the group. Before we met Shinobu, there was the ninja. Inarashi Nekomamushi. Very easily, very distinctive, easy to remember. The new characters we've been introduced to, they're still fresh in our minds. We haven't left them at any point. We have Kiku. We have Denjiro. We have Ashura Doji. And that kind of stuff, right? Like, so, and Kawamatsu, of course. So, like, when you start narrowing it down, you basically get to the confirmation that unless Oda's going to pull a complete, boom, it has been the least like it's Nekomamushi the whole time. Like, okay, whoa, where the hell did that come from? Outside of that, it was almost, it wasn't obvious. And that was the beauty of the way Oda did this, that it was Kanjiro. Kanjiro even says, they are discussing it on the boat. And they talk about it. They said there has to be a traitor. Kanemon says, look, you know what? I don't even want to think about that right now. If there is a traitor, if there's not a traitor, there clearly is. But what can we do about it right now? Right now, we need to focus. We need to go to Onigashima. And Kiku's like, how can you do this? And that's when Kanjiro goes, yeah, Kanemon, like, I know how Kiku feels because I am the traitor. And everyone's like, stop joking around. And he's like, there's reason. I'm Kurozumi Kanjiro. Need I say more? And I'm like, alright. Like, I buy it. I buy it because, honestly, the other characters, we had much more reason to believe they could never be the traitor. We saw Ashura Doji on the shore begging his men not to be there, to believe in Lady Toki. We just saw Denjiro with his whole thing, his face twisted in anger. Kawamatsu's been locked up in a prison the whole time and or protecting Hiyori. Inarashi Nekomamushi, the most unlikely out of all of them right there. Kiku was not on Zo. That's my only reason for not suspecting her, but that she was not on Zo. And so that leaves Momonosuke, Lord Oden's child. Once again, could have been a huge, big, like, twist, flip up your seat sort of idea. What the hell? But doubtful. Kanemon, once again, doubtful. So it just falls to those two. It really does. And, yeah, it's Kanjiro. He's one of the Kurozumi clan. He never hated any of them. He cried, he laughed, he did the whole thing, but he played the perfect part. He's one of those people that, we've seen this in anime before, he's one of those character types, very similar to the Joker in this aspect, that they fall into such a level of despair with their current situation, with their current life, that they actually end up twisting their own personality. They actually believe the lies. They believe who they are. They fall too deep. Similar to method acting, I suppose. This is method acting at 110%. This has turned up the dial. Kanjiro was willing to die in the pot of boiling oil with Lord Oden to keep his cover, to play the part. Because he was so traumatized by what happened, is that he regressed into believing he was someone else. We saw this in Vision of Escaflowne. We saw this in, what else? I had another one. But anyways, there are multiple characters in anime and manga alike that actually have this, either a traumatic experience with a combination of somebody like manipulating from the shadows to turn them, to push them, give them that little nudge in that direction. But we've actually seen that happen. We've seen the idea that they will be pushed so far that it warps them completely. And that is what Kanjiro, at the end of the day, is. He's a warped, sad individual who was traumatized so much that he just wished for death. And he could only keep on living by playing a part in a play, as he always did from childbirth. So he, at least, Kanjiro, is at the very least. See, sympathy and empathy. These two words are too big of words to give. Even if you say, I mean, he deserves a little bit. Because even that seems like I'm giving him too much credit. But unlike Orochi, Kanjuro was, as I said, traumatized by what happened. Similar to Batman, except turned out wrong. Traumatized by the death of his parents in cold blood in front of him. For no real good reason. Batman, it was for thievery. For this reason, it was because they happened to be related to some other murderer. And that was their reason. And poor little Kanjuro could not understand this, and it warped him. It warped his mind, it warped his personality. Perhaps the Kanjuro that would have grown up has never existed. That the Kanjuro of today is just a shell, a shadow of the daimyo killers, the vengeance that is brought upon, and deservedly so, in a sense, on the Kozuki clan for, well, not even the Kozuki clan, because the Kurozumis actually made their own bed. But the people who took it too far, and look at what it has caused. Like, had they not been on the genocidal idea to purge the Kurozumi line completely, Orochi probably never would have done what he did. Kanjuro never would have happened. There's a lot to say for the zealousness of the people. And right here we are seeing that, and it's just... But either way, this isn't meant to be a totally philosophical review. As I said, it turned into one. I've spent about 10 minutes talking all about, Hitler comparisons and the psychology of everything else. But at the end of the day, what happens? What happens that's so great? Well, Beast Pirates show up. Sorry, the Animal Kingdom Pirates. Oh, for God's sakes, Disney, get your claws out of Shueisha. But the Beast Pirates show up. They're going to blast everyone. Kinemon slices down Kanjuro, but apparently that was a drawing the whole time. Kanjuro's actually on the shore. He's kidnapped Lord Momonosuke, and he reveals all this stuff. The Kanjuro they knew couldn't draw, but this one can draw. He's been hiding it the whole time. Never hated anybody, but now Lord Orochi says the act is now finished. And I was willing to go and die and see with all of you, but now Lord Orochi told me it's fine, and now I'm going to bring him to Onigashima. And the Beast Pirates show up, and the trio, the supernova trio that everyone knows and loves, we get almost a ode to pre-time skip, the end of pre-time skip, when Eustace, Kid, Trafalgar Law, and Monkey D. Luffy all stood their grounds. Now, alright. Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, Eustace Captain Kidd, and Monkey D. Luffy all show up, standing there, willing to face down everything. And it's here again. Double spread. They're here. They're like samurai. They're not meant for the sea. Goes, alright, Beast Pirates. Boom, they blow it from the side. Boom, they blow it from the other side. They're all there, and like, when you go onto the sea, you don't face samurai. You face pirates. That's the chapter. And goddamn, who could be unhappy with this? Who would be goddamn unhappy with this? We got Kid, we got Luffy, we got Law. I said at the beginning of the review that Oda gave the fans what they wanted. We'll get the explanation later about what happened to the ships, how did this happen, when did Kid get involved, did Luffy and Law meet up, when did that happen? I don't believe that happened. Yeah, I don't think we actually saw them meet up. Last time we saw Law, he was walking out of the prison, escaping. Probably X-Drake was the one who let him out, and he was slicing up Lawkins. But, yeah, so, either way, does anybody care? Or does everyone just super hype for the fact that we are back in the present storyline? We got the 3 strongest supernovas. Well, I'm assuming Zoro's on the ship. So, the 4 strongest supernovas right there, ready to go, being like, alright, let's do this. You're going to face pirates now. We're going to see them completely wash this fleet of Animal Kingdom pirates. and then probably Kanjuro will be captured because Luffy will probably stretch his arm, grab Momonosuke, boom. Alright, and then when he tries to grab him, he'll be like, Conqueror's hockey, bitch. And that'll be awesome. So what did you guys think of this chapter? I thought it was great. I'm glad to be back in the present. Actually, the chapter itself was kind of because honestly, I didn't really care about the whole traitor line. I mean, it's good that we know now. It's been another story, plot device that's been wrapped up. I'm just more excited that this chapter basically was a transition from flashback into present storyline. We are following the main characters again. Let's go. Chapter 975 is going to be the one. 975 will be the one that we are all going to be like losing our shit over. So, that being said, like, comment, subscribe. As always, guys, it's always very much appreciated. This has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews for One Piece, Chapter 974. Drink responsibly as always. We'll see you back here next time.